Advantage 1 is corporate governance. Lack of accountability and transparency enables corporate misbehavior in the status quo, with the plan revitalizes checks on corporations by policing private equity markets. Davis 18, while social welfare issuing one share to every American government accumulates assets to manage stocks, bonds, real estate value of shares will increase. Others owners not permitted to sell shares, so they will be paid a universally significant from the fund, potentially a utility of SWS holding securities and law, insider trading and failure disclosures for risk collusion, potential warfare from people motivated to police public equity markets might open up avenues for pressuring companies over matters. Regulatory structures can recourse from authorities to take from the securities law to broad range of entities and democratic operating institutions. Major shareholder might provide crucial check against misbehavior, provided opportunities for companies towards better policies and around governance. Corporate social responsibility prevents existential climate breakdown. Block 21. Countless studies warn disastrous consequences of forming earth to transform CSR to practice human activities throughout the climate crisis and accelerating despite warnings, saving more attention, not becoming interest, to see the failure to compare new ways of thinking could address the climate breakdown. Existential worsening humankind. The existence of humankind requires tackling climate change to the business sector, wholly key towards healing the engaged business, improving sustainability. One cannot ignore the corporate resentment here, maximizing profits through challenges to mediate differences between wealth and ecological health by the end biosecurity risk extinction. Bailout 22. Biosecurity protecting against bioterror. One of the most important societal challenges natural threats of bioterror facing global existential corporate responsibility and stakeholder management contributes to sustainable development focus on governance of health integration, bioethics, community legitimacy, and health can be led by law and practice. Sustainable development focus on environmental crises and health threats. Ask questions about sustainability, biotech, pandemic, existential risk. A sovereign wealth fund creates incentives for corporations to act in the interests of citizen shareholders, promoting sustainability and ethicality. According to 22, a fund should be a expression of aspiration of citizens. These mere deep concerns about human relationships and criteria for execution of human rights and environmental damage and ethical investment costs likely to be measurable as investment size large enough ethical SWF for recurring debates on values, social goals, and counteract political apathy and strengthen communality. Is a human impact share precedent behavior of corporations that would have an incentive to pay attention to peace, sustainability, and human rights. Advantage 2 is financial resilience. Inevitable bailouts following recessions make all growth inequitable and unsustainable. Trend 23, there's uncertainty when big scale bailouts will follow. Countering a way that happens not protecting large positives supposed to beat the risk, weakening market discipline, and liabilities moral hazard, rescue operations, hardwired expectations and behaviors. In a financial market, participants, governments will come to rescue more hazardous life involved regulatory firming and go anywhere late anytime soon. And when it does produce results, perform the rollback to the OA financial system morphs into one where any crisis or stressful period has been classified by the Fed funding markets liquidity. No guarantee such a risk system is inequitable, unsustainable, longer persists, more undermines the legitimacy of financial regulators. The sovereign wealth fund solves and provides investment portfolios necessary to weather cyclical economic downturns and prevent unsustainable corporate bailouts and induce hazardous investments. Kaiser 20. A fund is portfolio owned by the government's course of use for stabilizing revenue, problems, big business help through crisis bailouts will come. Management, airlines, September 11 banks during 08 swaps are teetering. Big corporations receive most 3-to-1 ratio between Wall Street and Main Street. Small businesses have fewer resources to prepare for downturns. More high-tech companies distribute profits through buybacks, bailouts, more investment. Less 1% of S&P 500 percent of crisis produced. 5.3% fund will buy equity of companies into economic crisis. Handing this on to owners, imposing owners' terms would be countering private deals would allow the government to engage distributing profits to individual small businesses. Hardest hit fund states during the downturns make investments. UBI, the U.S. will spend more on bailouts to seed a fund little trouble generating return higher than the cost of borrowing. Workers fund we prestigious while paying should have a total attacking talent advantage of accumulating expertise, which is translated into better deals, controls, before corruption, risks are present anytime the government holds money. Downturns cause great power, war bands 21, so good things hard to keep the public happy, fear of people leaders. Desperately got resources make national the country ruin regime does economic surge in an imperial expansion felt Russia fell in the occupied Manchuria facing put up in invaded countries. France aggrandized after expanded undertaking intervention the pattern is clear wars come. A slew of studies prove decline causes great power war. June 22. Study explores how trouble the economy makes states less aggressive, increase probability of conflict, battle leaders divert attention from ills and create rally around the flag, bad economy, diverse driving forces incentivizing conflict, targeting rival can provide support their sort of justify actions which may target rising power. Ukraine has distributed actions against India, Taiwan, Japan, and Taiwan. Economy current outlook is uncertain. We should be concerned about troubled economies lead to use of force, drive aggressive stance. A federal fund guarantees macroeconomic stabilization during recessions by tapping into a higher yield investment. State level efforts lack oversight and stabilization ability. Kimmel 19. Funds can go through higher version of risk mitigation by having intermediate during risky investments that are stronger investment monitoring signals of investment. Fund depends on the design for avoiding corruption. There's better represented at federal level because people actually there's excellent coverage of national news, but the model for state has suffered for advertising. This can make the corruption easier. A national fund can use to take on macroeconomic stabilization role. State funds or noble funds are unlikely to take on the role of powerfully horizontality. Fund could help the U.S. invest for assist during recessions through encouraging private investment, getting return on stabilization. We can develop concepts of budgeting. The CBO, the difficult to sort investment can happen through budgeting. Funded by the treasury bills equal to a fraction of GDP on a global scale. Conservative stabilization either mandate U.S. For the U.S. equals in the U.S. would stabilize the world because the importance of U.S. investors were brought throughout the same as domestic investors with care to avoid corruption by restricting fund to investing in funds that have no voting rights to pay higher than any urge. The fund is economic Goldilocks to solve the knowledge and incentive problem in the public sector through price signals while also fortifying drained private savings. Only leveraging federal fiscal borrowing capacity solves. Barrel 21. Funds address failings of private and public failures over exchanges fell back on investment. Under 70% of income constitutes consumption. Americans have a better consumption than the free market under delivers external incentives doesn't have two promise knowledge and incentives. Prices inform decision makers about the cost of reliable information. Officials find it hard to reward. Wealth officials lack incentives to allocate efficiently. Governments workers only in the loose time contribution. Government can baseball. Scope of transactions, narrower fund increasing savings times. Governments rely on prices compound interest can be cumulative fund. Can reinvest returns and more resources for health and infrastructure and environment. Return signals authorities and the share is working easy with high salaries and performance. Government has experience managing pension funds or banks as seed, but it would not be hard for the government to have size borrowing fund projections out of the reach for the private sector. Therefore, the United States government should adopt the sovereign wealth dividend in the United States. Advantage 3 is automation. The planned sovereign wealth fund combats rising poverty and inequality due to eroding union power and inevitable automation. According to 22, public ownership of capital can be effective egalitarian distribution of income without loss of efficiency. As every citizen share the high rates of return from investment income, the globalization, automation, dividend will generate massive reduction in inequality. Youngest cohorts face potentially more unequal distribution of earnings. Robot revolution likely to worsen these unions, fostering welfare and eroding membership and declining. Difficult to imagine these trends could be reversed. Returns are distributed through a dividend to SMBF due to borrowing. Long-term interest rates close to zero and earn anywhere between close to 7%. Many households not having investments in stocks despite high return SMBS amid safe debt use of casinos to acquire risky assets and then rebase and that return uniformly. Public ownership of capital, increased lifetime welfare of workers without reducing lifetime welfare of savers. Automation and globalization are inevitable, but current approaches will backfire. Only the plan ensures an orderly, equitable transition to a robo-economy. Smith 17. A social fund gets distributed as UBI, U.S. one would rely on taxpayers to purchase assets and later ensure working class against tax is a real possibility. Automation and can make human labor superfluous. Automation means labor share of income will fall. A fund will be automatically redirecting use capital income back to people who would come to income fall canceling for a harmful effect. It's not require government to make a stance whether automation will hurt workers, but if automation provides a boon, wages will stay high and funds pay will be honest. Either way, workers are protected. Disorderly transition triggers nuclear war. Reading 22. Stagnant unemployment and job loss and lead to extremism on the right wing. Left wing populism creates an opening for authoritarians who embrace prejudice, tend not to trend us on our friends, involved in durable, expecting collapse, isolation, poverty events. Democracy is vulnerable. U.S. populists elected Trump and his allies. Extreme right groups have been working, growing, and dividing U.S. Observers predict angry contests of violence to overturn 2024 civil secession and insurgency manifests turn the matter into the path into fuel economic malaise for backlash against globalization, disastrous friction between U.S. and China. Computerization will make jobs vanish, permanent technological displacement will extend unemployment lines, adding pressure to frame safety net, attention about the Baltics, Europe, Caucasus, Asia war, and the Gulf trigger shock. So many flashpoints and imminent instability makes skirmish inevitable. Conventional wars likely nuclear possible escalation and NATO's spectrum nuclear war return. Automation is guaranteed to foster widespread social strife, but the plan solves Walker 16. Large number of jobs to be performed by robots and a new sector will not generate sufficient jobs. As the second point of false growth, they have to be greater than work redundancy. Such relationships are not possible. Differences gets more dramatic as redundancy percentage decreases. Robots place 3 of 10. E-com have to go 43%. New industries will use robotics and output have to increase faster than percent unemployed to keep full employment is clear. Need for big would be efficient to stop social unrest caused by massive unemployment. Peak for big would be easiest small percentage of output. Persistently unemployment predicts civil unrest despite lack of recession. There are several major differences where robotics replace human labor. Citizens less acquiescing to their citizens and people distrust politicians. Far more modern concepts to make it much easier to communicate and coordinate because different people's long-term outlook. If you see the doctors, lawyers, laid off as available in robotics, what will you hope for? A wealth fund is key to enable citizens to share in the high returns of the stock market, providing a direct and transparent mechanism for redistribution. 2017. In the U.S. share of overall wealth committed by top 0.1% is growing. Effective inequality, unequal access, financial system inheritances are unequally distributed. Rise of concentration increases. Incentive to ability to buy political influence and inequality can better be tackled by public ownership of capital rate. Vicious cycles, wealth concentration, political capture. The fund would reduce inequality by distributing returns to citizens equally. SABS sells every citizen share a high rates of return and direct transparent rate. Universal transfer payment would be taxes that not credit against benefits. SABS can yield above average returns on capital over the long term. Every citizen would be equal shareholder. SABS gradually amount to 50% of GDP. It would imply today the dividend of $2,000 per year substantially contribute to improving lives condition, poverty, and decrease 1/3 civil dividend. Improves fallback option. Working poor can be expected to strike better than pay bargains. SABS would distribute income to the government. The government's budget could smooth payments in times of supernormal. Returns could be used to buy debt and build a reserve to ensure stable dividends in times of subnormal. I'm good.
Alright, what is a sovereign wealth fund?
It's a fund that is owned by the government that invests in assets.
Okay, how is it funded? That fund funded?
Yeah, initial funding for the fund can be like a number of different ways. We don't specify. It could be taxes, it could be treasury bonds we sell. We don't think it would cost a lot to start up, and then as we gain money from the investments, that we reinvest in the fund. So it's like it keeps generating more.
Wait, so the basic income is only the returns from the funds being used to pay for that?
Well, yeah, like we're not investing in like people. Like the basic income is the dividend generated from the fund.
Okay.
The fund
How much
invests money.
of the returns is used to pay for the basic income?
Like most of them, if not all. The only other
So
part
the fund
that
doesn't
wouldn't
grow. The fund just
Well, no. I mean, the fund it's dividends. So it's like any other company that pays dividends to its shareholders, right? Like the company can still grow, but excess profits from the top go to
it's like a hedge fund for every citizen in the U.S.
what kind? How do you decide which stocks or which investment vehicles to invest in?
Yeah, the Kimball evidence says that we would hire experts in the field. It says it'd be pretty easy to hire, but it says that those people would know
What is the rate
kind
of the basic income?
stocks. Well, the rate would most likely, normal means it would vary based on the returns initially until we got to a certain state of the fund that's large enough, and then it would be fixed.
Okay. And I'm still confused where the money comes from that's used to pay for this fund.
Investments.
Yeah, but what money initially?
The initial
used as the principal?
initial money we put into the fund is, I mean, it could be taxes, it could be general government revenue, could be borrowing, could be bonds, anything like that.
Who gets the dividend?
Everything.
citizens. Yeah.
Okay. The accountability stuff and responsibility, how do you solve it?
Yeah, we have several cards in the 1AC that talk about how public ownership, making the public literal shareholders within the large corporations both incentivizes sustainable practices and good.
Well, the trust fund's not going to own a large share in those companies. Like, how's that going to have any effect?
No, that's not true. We read evidence that says, one, the fund would grow to be something like 50% of GDP.
It also is about the incentives provided to companies. So if a company sees another company being invested in by the sovereign wealth fund, they'll try and mirror the same practices of their company. So the Corneo evidence says that people would look for companies that are not environmentally destructive, that have ethical standards. So if the fund is not investing in those companies that are polluting and such, then those companies will stop polluting. That's the claim of Corneo and NIMS.
How does it solve unions or automation?
Well, it doesn't need to solve unions to revitalize unions or prevent automation. It just ensures that people are benefiting from any growth that corporations make.
11, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I'm good.
Give me 1 second, sorry. Okay.
1 second. Is everyone good?
Yep.
Okay. First off, is topicality. Basic income must be consistent. 2022 defined basic income. Considered and assumed that income not varied. Ask a dividend varied. Dividends on basic income understood. Belong to the definition of basic income, but the reality stated basic income usage delivers consistent characteristics. Validation of basic income is phased in, so it's inconsistent. No negative limits and bound absent various payments to screw disallowance and avoid core negative positions. Next off is a negative income tax compact. The United States federal government should implement a sovereign wealth fund. Negative income tax solves every average ruling, but it's politically feasible. 0-20 unit is economically politically feasible within a year. It can eliminate poverty, reduce inequality, and instantly income from automation, pandemic facing for lowest risks. This is spread for innovation. Next off is a UNESCO Counterplan. With reference to Article 24.3 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the United States federal government should enter a genuine, prior, and binding consultation with the United Nations Committee on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights and on the implementation of a sovereign wealth fund dividend in the United States. They say yes, which reinvigorates human rights law and solves the case better. Veracity. Article 10.3 calls for the right to collective bargaining, human rights law, guarantees rights to health care and social security, human rights, embodied commitment to dignity, describes state redistribute resources to the UNHCR, and the states have an obligation to ensure the social and economic rights, for example, subsistence, austerity measures, breach human rights, freedom, consistent with human rights, shift debates from policy into duty, human rights, rights and share responsibility to emphasis on political rights as at odds with communities who view economic concerns, human rights will need to move beyond documented issues, attacking the causes that economic governance spills over Costello, 21 right to work, and actually has instrumental value in serious economic potential, no leadership by states to safeguard its record, recognize serious crisis to scale up, implement policies to promote active labor, crisis security, access to promote erosion, humanitarian norms will be seized upon by aggressors, extinction, popular, heating, humanitarian system prevents humans with access to choice. Norms allow no enforceable like Cold War, Chinese or civilian crises take place, pollution, scarcity of resources, public religious finances, including stability, technical, medical, erosion, trust breakdown, must be halted in an existential threat to humanitarianism, have wide function to find migrants, prevent failures, lawful mass will give power and failure of power for action as codification law, next office, content plan. The United States federal government should, through a limited convention, corporate values 34 of the states, and Martin values 38 of the states should do provide a sovereign wealth fund. Next up, dividend. Next up is the interest rates this time. Rate cuts now for a recession collapse of emerging markets on year 112. Economies that 324 and expect soft landing could be a severe recession linked to geopolitical shocks such as the US and China. Bringing up risk of expectation of cutting rates and soft landing in the US and emerging markets are in danger of growth going fails to be spoken for a crisis of countries to try to avoid fiscal policies that we have progress. A basic income would decimate the economy and cause runaway inflation. Fitzpatrick 20. Human subsidies be as negative for rates of assets. Choice between US and Europe increasing risk being responsibility to rise dollar would be weakened. Raise the cost of labor corporation force pass on cost damage and demand inflation. Expectation to cover risk assets and anticipation of stagflation. inflation as fears profitably way higher incomes, real rates, yields are low as productive growth, increasing compared to inflation, even surviving the cost of the entire economy is a hallmark of stagflation, failed states extinction, opposite 16 cuts, humanitarian pandemics and one, spread of conflict and from larger states, virtually riches the development, trapping the cycle of poverty, from Syria, also the bold nature, eventually poses challenge when it's not just crisis to states, lose control, become havens to groups which threaten the world as Ukraine and the country, virtually can make states susceptible to interventions, virtually can spark spillover effects and quickly spread to logical violence. Several of my IRS guns were in real threat over the past 3 years and one simply 90 point. Next off is immigration is that. U.S. immigration is on our gross 23 immigrant population. The U.S. growing and reaching record high increases in significant foreign populations driven up basic income and legal immigration, increasing global poverty may grow for the basic income. But if high immigration increases poverty, even if you limit your children, I don't think it's ever politically viable. If you can guarantee income, you shut down immigration at least for low skilled countries would increase poverty. Cutting immigration rates, food security, some 21 of outgoing even food demand for labor continuing 70% from increased population and workers to the demand for labor of foreign ways to supply. Pushing workers to farmers to bring immigrant labor. Americans are jobs and working farm labor to generate performance, making it impossible based on to increase wages, increasing the cost is not a solution because consumers are sensitive to price increase in goods. Food scarcity causes new war with over food for 10,000 years. Food in this case, usually by drivers and not in profits hunger. So lots of room for the list of wars and refugees and armies, regions in the world are put at high risk of feeling poverty, future rates from ranks. Unique war. Next up. The United States Federal Commission created a sovereign fund. Next up, the United States Federal Commission for basic income finance and tally for deficit spending. Next up, the United States House of Representatives should pass a companion bill regarding Ukraine aid and ensures Ukraine passage. If the Senate passes it, companion bill found in one chamber at the bill in the opposite chamber. Ukraine aid will pass. Samaka one to ban it as well for Congress for ensuring Ukraine increases in central and reserve resolve every immigration coming out now by it. Like near tougher immigration loans to negotiate this very will cut deal aid has gone away. The price can be must vote. Urgent by person to give me some right track putting down top priorities in the right direction. Schumer argued to review documents for the first time getting done because purposes and standards and House basic income expense PC, Democrat 17, negotiates with global capital basic income resource and novel approach comes from the basic income maturity, substantial potential of the distribution of it. 8 stops global new goal, levy 1231 of Western Sport, fought in Ukraine, fighting the scenario of Congress, refused to approve on zero, following years of that conflict, Western Bridge authoritarian sports is training, trigger around using the possessions, originally following Ukrainian neutral plans, the polio and vaccine, and sexual available stock prices, cost following and defeat Ukraine, which could embolden and let's go after NATO, full-scale U.S. intervention. Next off, the 50 states are on the list of national actors entered and into compact requiring governmental coordination to provide a sound wealth fund dividend. Next off, the jobs counterplan, the United States Federal Commission adopted a green job guarantee program funded by sovereign wealth fund aimed at preserving system of agricultural recycling, hospital care, and wildfire management agencies comparatively better. Have some PTG. Superior to the time rising conversation with condition BOAs, the basics, non-workers will be held and really cuts and imperative to reform changing the coalition cost banks. We would have to hide the produce with benefits to use, emergency design for human social capital, be not just consider the key macros to offer, freedom, leader, regulation, and innovations by communities, accessory problems. Emergency allows erosion rate from hard corporate. Skip that. I didn't read this. Nutrient pollution is existential and collapses. Notion now is climate change creating into directive bindings far more worse than climate change, nutrient pollution is in the marine problems not clear large access. Fertilizer nutrients responsible as good time cutting composition and nutrition oxygen needed to have also condition like the ocean I have a bit of some results that would have negative applications on ocean response to reducing interactions with emotions. The topic of virtually cost structure reducing marine nutrient pollution as many help by humanity time to figure out solutions. One about 25 question one, terror boundaries is very limited to that. Materialize the group's interest in rude metric focus like some person. You don't catch yourself in the excellent interest in again, and if you report logical production deliveries and highly difficult to use, bring small packs too. They can't solve the global key barrier to none replace them in China. You and every reduce emission knowledge of China's largest emitter and NASA world. Climate 3. No country is 1.5 degrees compatible. Insert a chart. Cat 3. 4. No climate impact. Climate 3. Sensible sensitive in favor of climate couple of structures had emissions. We come to the natural and human influences and cause changes. 6 reasons compatible to be highly crash free. Carbon short relief for users. Ever X risks and distractions always reliable warming is found out. Come cause dangerous weather to that's at a kind of 99%. We saw that ice and she's ice growing, sea levels rising, slow rate, oceans remain likely alkaline for marine life. Adopts one of species dire for extinction. 2. 1. Consensus of scholarly literature says there's no econ impact versus 2 wars. And let's see with caution and coming up from this pieces husband one. The negotiation also to go down the bridge from the region of that kind of coming speaking. Give a reason husband to speak on military might affect with death for years. We want outings governments protect them. If less time the branches, less training the subject to reducing intensity barriers focus on the domestic with resolutions to get 2. The economy is structurally sustainable. Actually I skipped part. 3. 1. No automation. economists tend to be economists have issues predicting automation because we have about jobs, what actually happened, and we have to share with people in employment and out and issues with highest automation of these in employment and let's see if you understand the jobs has very iris and job loss jobs has fashion report let's see fast wage growth and remuneration tsunamis and ours like in history like the job destruction happens slowly in economy state involvement tech change happens slowly these industries are unionized and unions find job losses jobs and risk highly regulated these sectors the economy also needs new job government has need tech demand create demand for jobs are hard to automate the economy is like to create occupations can't be imagined. 2. No populism, impact, and social strife is constrained. 24. Not just the highest possibility to assess for poverty. History of whole set of populist research of 40. Populist governments only 7% authors in the world. The worst outcome is less common in theory. Liberal pluralism commands. Consumer strength and institutional strength is beyond support for an opposition force low blacks. Market card opposition forces low blacks.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. The UNESCO Counterplan, first card is about international human rights law. The impact card is about international humanitarian law, which covers conduct during war, whereas human rights law does not. What do you think the internal link between the Counterplan and the impact is?
I'm not sure the impact card is only about
It's
human
explicitly
rights
about
laws.
humanitarian system. It does not talk about human rights law, which is about things that states ought to provide to their people rather than conduct they should avoid during war.
The bottom of the card discusses IHL.
Yeah, that's international humanitarian.
Yeah, but it's not just about war, it's also about human rights more broadly.
Well, no. IHL is international humanitarian law. IHR is international human rights law. Have you read a card that connects those two?
I mean, we have read a spillover card as well. That says
About
that
a different type of law. That's fine. Status of the off.
status quo is logical option.
Okay. Do you skip any off? In the one
This is
you
the
see?
last one, right?
Just the last one.
I read a different net benefit.
You read it, yeah, you skipped food security and you read the like nutrient pollution
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
but that's all the off you skipped.
Yeah,
Okay.
nothing else.
Okay, sweet.
Wait, what? Because the Costello card is about IHL, and the internal link card, the spillover card is about.
Yeah, but the Paris card, which is the counterplan, reinvigorates a type of law, is about human rights law because you're consulting with a human rights body, not a humanitarian law. But that's
No,
fine.
but the IHL has rooting in human rights.
That's not true at all. The Ukraine disad, what is a companion bill to Ukraine aid?
Basically, the House will pass, if the Senate passes the Ukraine bill, the House will too.
Yeah, like what is the content?
The bill that the Senate passes.
So it's just like Ukraine aid in the Senate, and then the House also passes Ukraine aid in the House?
Yes.
Okay. Why does that not overcome the link?
Because our link argument is about Biden's PC more broadly, and he needs to expand PC in the Senate.
Okay, sure. Well, he needs to expend PC in the Senate to get passed. Okay, that makes sense. I guess like what is PC? How's it expended?
Well, Biden, like a lot of it is that Biden needs to use his power to persuade, he needs to arm twist, he needs to get.
Yeah, I guess like why does the
Republicans
plan
on board.
make arm twisting less effective? Like he has power, he
The
can
other
use it
thing-
regardless.
Well, the big thing is that it's limited because Biden can only push for a set number of legislative items. Politicians are inherently risk averse. So
Yeah,
they're
so like why
unlikely
can't he
to
just
support-
like arm twist multiple times and their risk aversion will mean
Because
that
it's
they like
empirically
cower away
proven.
from his
After
arm
Clinton
twisting
and
plot.
Bush passed Social Security reforms, well actually after they did Iraq, they were unable to pass Social Security reforms. After Obama did Obamacare, he was unable to pass a series of smaller legislative victories,
Okay, sure.
which suggests that PC is limited and finite.
Were there any like hidden theoretical topical reasons to reject the team?
No.
Okay. Sweet. Okay.
Alright, and start.
Devin also sent out the content text. for
Yeah,
the
sweet,
content.
I got that. 740 it said. Okay, is everyone from order? Okay, advantage 1, corporate governance. Advantage 2, financial resilience. Advantage 3, automation. Topicality, the NIT counterplan. The UNESCR counterplan. Con states. The sovereign wealth fund counterplan, the BI pick. Deficit counterplan, the jobs counterplan, the econ dissad, the politics dissad, and then the inflation, or the immigration dissad. Yeah. Advantage 1, advantage 2, advantage 3. T, NIT counterplan, UNESCR counterplan, con, states, sovereign wealth fund, deficit, jobs, econ dissad, politics, immigration. Okay. Is Real good? Is good? Alright.
One is UN, yes, power tech factor, cross evidence, sites, passive various of all this evidence, predictive, 1 is 2, yes, we still do solve global climate change, or 1 is the evidence says we invest in global companies, which also saw answers, 1 is 3, but companies can get below those thresholds, that's the belong and Davis evidence, yes, yes, climate impact, belonging evidence is bad, 1 is pressure, military strategy, no scientific expertise, prefer the belong evidence, that it's definitely causing confusion, decides consensus, 2, citing widely discredited climate deniers to throw the evidence out, advantage 2. Yes, econ impact, their evidence is not about, it's about a pandemic, it's not a war or brands and junk evidence is empirically likely and statistically will have their countries that work divided their attention by escalating globally that causes nuclear war, advantage 3. Yes, automation of Walker evidence answers the claim in the Economist card. It says that the automation will accelerate too fast for the economy to pick up, so that people will be displaced from their jobs, plus they fear their jobs is the only thing that matters. Where evidence says that people do fear, yes, problems, their evidence, our evidence is specific to the U.S. and says that there's a unique risk of it in the United States, approved by 2016, and it'll increase in the future, which escalates a nuclear war through collapsing interdependence. T. We meet the funds evidence RBI, that's Smith, the 2 counter this says FBI must be periodic cash, individual, universal, unconditional, Tories. What do you do? This definition by citizen basic income trust, the definition of the BI inside basic income periodic and not. And one of cash not paid in kind or vouchers that will be universal paid by that means doesn't finish player. Our Republican says and they represent consistent through that space after on their term includes all dividends after which report BI literature, limited app innovation made. The topic sale B is pretty Blair describes consensus, which guides correct forward and the offense barely adds any app states politics. Econ, in other words, checking these 5 app topic how many crowds out substance supports rates at the bottom. The Troy is talking about is generally assumed meaning of the BI, not the actual definition inserted the rehighlighting in NIT. 1 per the capital, 1 is 5. NIT is basically both the basic they guarantee every minimum number. 2 links to politics of link threshold they set means whether a few conservative comments with the 80 supported it or not is relevant. 3 paired to both fields. 4 can solve any advantage for A wealth is large compared to rest reduction in inequality, only providing a public investment vehicle solve that's corny evidence. B is not a major problems. Politics and left lower class citizens share in the fruits of automation. That's Smith evidence like wealth to investment is the only solved by the plan. That's what can solve obviously advantage 1 or 2 because sovereign wealth is key. UNESCR. First part about 2 from the economy shows not requires certainty core 50-50. Policy concerns are 2 following definite right guidance policy and policy and shall take action must be taken in all cases expedition policy will always be carried out and policy and should take action in most cases except are simple for good reason. Should refer to your brown it should look the future consider possible future events process consolidation bad certainty is key. That's August 18. Statistics estimate of governments under pressure to defend the liberty both of domestic and international estimate limited not only in financial movements also on the credit for interference made and center organization transparency and how perfectly accountable in the plan no spillover internally evidence by human rights law and fighting about humanitarian law those are completely different. The UN says no, it's an unorthodox idea permanently have accountable on other issues. Styles and on the text. Counterplan. First party vote 2 content comments about field unprecedented uncertainty dodge deficit Indians around not voter for education ground 3 permanent comments the way the plan community John 4 cannot solve it to obliterate certainty which links to the our harder right above spurs legal challenges from the court Congress and executive and triggers a runaway special interest results that shut down the government links harder 5 comments without Carter advocates of voting issue explicitly killing fairness and more states in the real world and decimating education Carter advocates solve states.
First, primary bill shows inevitable politics Biden makes states take the blame, 2 states fail. A is corruption, state selectivation, national oversight, knowledge, and to ensure macroeconomic stability. That's the the impact. Is advantage to B is fiscally states cannot deficit spending, only utilizing defense borrowing capacity can support investments necessary for investment products, interstate compacts linked to politics because they're requiring congressional authorization. 4, permanently accountable. That's the way the plan can be done. SWF counterplan. First, permanent bill. 2, permanent accountable. 3, the accountable links to the net benefit. Still a new fiscal policies to the Congress that still be mad at dividend is key to the entire app. 1 is corporate governance, tying market outcomes, the aspiration of everyday citizens through dividend, counteracts political apathy, and is better oversight of corporate structure. That's Corneo and David. 2 is financial resilience, only reorienting fiscal assistance away from corporate balance and towards the individual hard to sit during recession and stabilize markets. That's the kinds of evidence. 3 is automation, only allow citizens to share in market terms through a dividend remedies and unequal distribution of earnings, and offsets the effects of the chaotic transition to a real economy. That's Corneo, Walker, and Smith. Deficit spending element.
I'm gonna go back to the. Okay, back to you and ECR.
Purring to the app representing a human right to a dividend solves, and it's not technically or functionally justified because Congress must speed up the action function to get out to remain fair staff crown. Deficit. First part of counter deficit spending is a way the plan can be not fiscal redistribution tax returns that come with the redistributing and distribute the tax rates of both their practice very low to meet tax benefits may be skewed low inequality. 2, part of the bill shield and benefit. 3, links and benefit jobs counterplan. First, permanent bill. 2, permanent account. 3, links to politics. JG. It is still a controversial issue. 3, 4 cannot solve crossfire from the 19. Only the SWFBI solves inequality. 4 cannot solve global nutrient pollution because they only solve for jobs in the United States. 5 cannot solve any advantage. 1 or 2 they require a sovereign wealth fund. 6, the plan solves the internal by compelling companies to be more environmentally conscious, so it prevents any pollution. Rate hikes. The impacts inevitable. A is bailout savings moral hazard by incentivizing corporations to make unsustainable investment that inevitably result in a fiscal crisis that spill over globally because they believe the Fed will take the fall of that strand. And Kaiser evidence B is external stimulus declining and national savings and failing investment allocation ensures massive economic waste that's wrong. Up to C, inflation is sticking, which prevents any rate cuts. Schneider 122. Fastest to make a fight lower inflation would be difficult data than overall consumer price and inflation drives seller costs keep rising. Unused price for a raise, like auto insurance, bigger pay raise on account of labor. We're going to setting it down Fed and needs more other important thing rate cuts. Inflation is wrong. 1 is gradual. They dividend gradually ratchets up in the long term. Rate existing high market return does not create tons of new money. That's the Corneo evidence. 2 is management. Leo and Al 10. Volatility of revenues for down for inflation, funding withdrawal rules, ownership, and fixed demand, stabilization, cover liabilities, or single down, strategies, when the economy and private demand is weakened, works for public research strong. 3, foreign investment shields thin. Estimating with smooth spending action, specifically stabilization, more inflation by investing in riskier assets and reduce costs of reserves, U.S. access against state expenditure from volatility to revenue, currently liquidity or borrowing by using estimated asset degree spending authorities. Smoothing cycles and taking liquidity can lead to efficient, but if this means foreign revenues are used to purchase foreign assets at the rate of exchange rate will appreciate less than others that leaving pressure on inflation markets returns that to a great fiscal list for spending but sustainability. 4 is impaired to known. They find significant positives but negligible. How the less than 1% rate is often a combination of push price that hostable inflation should and no affects price outlook has always been low in the United States. The failed state's impact is not zero recession collapse and all causes like political and sweaty doom. Those states anyways, but the plan solves it. That was advantage 2. Ukraine. Purring to both overwhelms links, caving to GOP is the huge olive branch of overall supplying signal. No passionate PC does not solve. GOP is opposed to Jim or Jack, assuming the Counterplan election pressure is the lowest at 124. The House appears to be moving away from insisting on many policy inauguration Democrats rejected those out of hand to both sides sitting in there as the managed Ukraine will succeed Trump, but they clearly oppose any to Ukraine. John Johnson because Trump frequently throwing cold water on the package screen. Threatened to boo Johnson if he stages the vote on Ukrainians absolutely no good. Republicans don't want to address the border crisis before the election. To might hand it Biden to victory. Democrats rejected Biden. Border company holds himself hostage to Magas. We have a problem. The giving it to GOP demands collapses U.S. LB14. Under H.R.2, employers required to verify workers were documented and impacted on the relied on documented the Clean Act. 40% of farm workers are undocumented would be devastating because of nuke war cast law 70. The U.S.-based threats such as Russia and China have to load up food prices to produce stable economies of food insecurity, mass migration, conflict, and disrupting culture, and diplomatic relations, rising and reducing demand for food, to American farmers were emerging markets purchased 20% of U.S. agriculture and expected growth. These and then the issue more stubborn of money, Israel aid, border water security, impeachment, FAA, no link, no amount of bias, game persuade. House Republicans actively support Ukraine aid. There's the aid does not solve anything. So we 1-3. Biden's strategy we can Russia will help Ukraine to win the war over long fighting guarantees more than casualty to win. Ukraine needs destroy the weapon system to ensure they not fire. Biden's approach will not win the war. She need Ivory Coast cannot be seen linked to package only give soon. More companies send military and mobilize more troops, no impact. P2P just 1-3. Wrong decision Ukraine is maker to democracy where you power Libya is failed to enable the world states. Another it is not for everyone working against tells a little about how you should act or shine the invaders on war to Russia. Attacking on all crises in the states when you support Lebanon to be non Afghanistan world will not fall apart when all of our based on Ukraine immigration is done. First it's down to ban 117. Crossing falling faster, still dropping border patrol cameras are crossing border national dropped by 70%, falling numbers coincide with diplomacy banks about the crisis by Biden. Links that go here. There's no will in Congress to shut down the border, and no link the plans for only priority U.S. citizens. That's Corneo. There's not relevant for the accident or USC at 23. Half farmers lack an illegal immigration share of farmers do not illegally authorize the worker to free the does not take out solvency and the impact standards about citizens' reaction via voting papers and political rallying. The welfare magnet hypothesis is wrong. Roller 23. We consider dependencies and look at the broader context in order to other approaches that model the enterprise of benefit that is similar to advice in favor of demanding citizens are based on observable differences in welfare with regard to social and unfirmly long. WMH was confirmed for not enough evidence exponent for global migration compared to population GDP distance of language and democracy explanation. The rise on welfare a poll of migration seems rather weak. Okay, I'm good.
That was 7 seconds. Econ just said, why does stabilization prevent inflation from happening?
Yeah, well, which card? The like Lou evidence or the third piece of evidence? Because they make like two different kinds of claims.
The Lou evidence.
Yeah, the Lou evidence says that SWF would stabilize spending during deflationary periods, during recessions, because it would provide a basic income. So it like operates counter-cyclically with the way the market operates. So it like stabilizes.
Yeah, but
all
that's
spending.
about deflation. What about how does it curb inflation?
Well, the Lou evidence makes claims about like inflationary cycles. It prevents them entirely.
How?
Because when the economy is doing well, when it's like generating profit, like there's not the dividend pays more when the economy is doing
The
poorly.
aid turn on Ukraine is what is the link to this?
The what? The food turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, the uniqueness counterplan.
Yeah. Like why? What about the bill hurt ag?
Yeah, the Albion evidence, it says it would like decimate immigration, undocumented immigration. This is not a double term with the disad because the plan does not affect undocumented immigration because the plan's only given to citizens,
Okay.
obviously.
And
And we've read evidence on both
the
Ukraine
advantage
disad.
with the populism impact.
What?
The advantage with the populism
Yeah.
impact. What is the is the argument that Trump will win 2024 because of automation? What exactly?
I mean, that's a likely scenario. We think just generally the U.S. will elect more populist leaders. Even if it isn't Trump, there'll be more populists in the Senate. Those will escalate trade disputes with China, for example, which will cause a nuclear war.
I mean, there already is a trade dispute with China. Why does
Well, I mean,
Trade
it's not like the equivalent of a trade dispute under like a populist-run government where we're collapsing, like where we're like shutting down all interdependence.
And the argument is that without interdependence, that will cause war.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
made in the one I see.
The growth advantage. Why didn't past recessions cause war?
The Jung evidence says the
Okay.
current climate is uniquely poised to escalate to conflict.
I mean, the
I
Jung
mean,
evidence was written at the start of the Ukraine war, and it's been 2 years since then. There's
I
been
mean,
no
I
escalation.
don't know why Ukraine might have changed that. It, if anything, increased instability globally. Countries are on edge. They don't know what's going to happen. Like a poor economy will be like the reason they start to divert and escalate.
Well, I'm
towards
just
globalism.
confused. What about the status quo recession that's imminent will be worse than previous recessions?
Well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be worse, but it's about the climate that the recession occurs under. We do think it would be worse because the U.S. has relied on bailouts, and those bailouts.
Okay, let's
the
talk
next
about
time.
that thesis. So there have been bailouts has been happening for centuries. Like there's always been corporate.
Yeah,
America.
all of our evidence talks about past bailouts and says that we cannot keep relying on them because they're creating these like cycles of recessions. The next time we have a recession, the bailout like won't be
Yeah, there's
sufficient.
cycles of recessions, but why does that mean that the next recession is the one
Well,
causing?
again, it's about the conditions under which the recession occurs. The Jung evidence is post-COVID.
953. Was theory just con and Santi advocates?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
No problem.
What's your one?
606, I think. I did my math there. T. Negative income tax. The deficit spending counterplan. 1, 2, debt 3.
T, negative income tax, deficit spending, 1, 2, 3.
I forgot the jobs counterplan. Negative income tax, jobs, deficit spending, 1, 2, 3.
Give me 1 second. Messed up. You said jobs before deficits?
Yes. Okay. You good? Topical affirmatives must define a consistent basic income tied out to some random funding mechanism like this plan. First, limits their interpretation allows staff to derive infinitely more mechanisms and add-ons, whether that's fees or tolls or new income tax or the sovereign wealth fund. Second ground, an inconsistent one can respond to disadvantages proven by their response to econ. This tab, it fluctuates based on the amount of the dividend. They start small to no link out of disadvantages. They do not meet the 1AC cross-checks and answers to this tab proves that the fund fluctuates based on the dividend. The counter-interpret does not say anything, and it's the same author. Their counter-interpret agrees with us and is not mutually exclusive. We agree that the UBI is universal, but it also has to be consistent, which Tori does say. Background's wrong. First, no link. High-quality apps exist under our interpretation. They can do a BI with a sovereign wealth fund. It just says it's not tied to that dividend or that fund, which allows us to guarantee stable links. Second, background outweighs fiscal redistribution is meaningless. They think this is skewed and depth over breadth incentivized research and testing. Third, turn smaller topics are better. Advantage innovation solves. Healthcare and arm sales were good. CTR was bad. This is predictability. First, we solved it because we read the same card. Second, limits around turns. Community consensus creates predictability. Desirability determines the best interpretations. 2.7% on arm sales and LPR on immigration. Third, undefined threshold. If we're predictable enough, break the title debatability. Everything else breaks T. They say no nag offense. First, topical limits are a prerequisite. They determine research burden. Second, they don't solve it. After we tend to beat abstract functional limits, which necessitates topical constraints. Third, after written to beat states, politics, econ, which means their list is incorrect. They say error after was answered above. They also get the first and last speech and choose the focus of debate and their new app. They do not make a reasonability argument, so you default to competing interpretations. Any marginal benefit to our interpretation is sufficient to vote negative. The reheading is wrong. It says that it would not vary, although it's unstated. The Tory evidence concludes that it's assumed, and it says explicitly that Alaska is not a basic income because it's a dividend that varies, negative income tax. Permanent campaign is severance, that's their counter-interpret card on T. It does not link to net benefit, it's politically feasible, it gets sold to conservatives as a tax cut. That's steroid sliding scale links less as offense. EITC proves me 14. The EITC was popular with policymakers because it appeared to raise workload substitute. EITC now provides substantial. Republicans love it and Democrats want more. Political money, the earned income tax credit is popular with both parties. Democrats fear it's not reaching its full potential. Economists love it. Flower 16, negative income tax. Thought by both conservative and liberal economists be more effective anti-poverty program. Nobel Prize winners. Flower 16 for negative income tax was endorsed by a slew of notable economics who, including several who went on to now Nobel Prizes. Permanent both links in that benefit because it includes basic income. It does solve. They dropped the part of the counterplan that says that the negative income tax is funded by a sovereign wealth fund. All of the deficits are based on the exclusion of the sovereign wealth fund, so no new 1AR deficits, and you know that the counterplan definitively solves because they do not have a reason why only giving money to the poor doesn't solve the inequality scenario. It solves better because negative income tax provides everyone below the poverty line with enough money to raise them above it. That's zero. And comparatively, it's more solvent because the plan gives everyone the same amount, while NIT gives the most to the poor. Studies agree, Zoo 21, Alberta expands the AT stimulate poverty and live families in the middle class. Every individual guaranteed income above the poverty line and cost we aim to have 6 billion less than other programs based on target nature by targeting poor. We introduce both the applicable economic facts of those earning are likely to utilize this tax for consumption, jobs. Home to both leads to net benefit, and it does not solve the internal net benefit because the card says that if they have money, they will not work. Home to compound is severance links. It does not link to net benefit because our link card is specific to basic income. The content solves inequality, which is the HUD evidence. They've dropped that comparatively solves better because the basic income fails, collapses the economy because it disincentivizes work, which turns both first two advantages. But the HUD evidence indicates that jobs are sufficient to solve inequality because it provides everyone with a living wage. They say it doesn't solve nutrients, but the content solves it. The Craig evidence says that job guarantee builds sustainable farming, reduces nutrient runoff. They did not read evidence, which means you default negative. The plan does not solve the internal net benefit because the evidence indicates that constructing projects are key. Work is necessary to solve, and only encouraging corporations to change their behavior is not sufficient. Advantage one, the deficit content. Solvency advocates are guaranteed that facts test multiple angles and real-world breadth of depth increases education, which means we do not need a solvency advocate. New apps are bad under my cash and fairness by subverting preparation. Justifies no solvency advocates, and is a reason to reject the team for deterrence. New 2NC Counterplan. The United States federal government should increase immigration, not pass HR 2. Advantage 1. Sovereign wealth fund does not solve because they have not read a card that says that the public would definitively kill bioterrorism or climate change such that it can help with it, but not enough to reach the 1.5 degree threshold. It also loses a ton of money. Meredith 23, Norway fund loses of 2.1 losses of 374 billion. Except no bioterror impact. The card we read is better and more specific than theirs. Their evidence assumes intentional development, which clearly they cannot solve. It is all caused the app because they only solve corporate irresponsibility, but they cannot solve non-state actors and governments intentionally deciding to build bioterrorism. But it's also small and unlikely. Jefferson 14. Leaders and experts consider risk small. Attempts for very small scale, low causality scale, and process can take years. Some of these puts and challenge system techniques. We effective boarding specialization is 50 hours sufficient. Delivery involves that channel exists between production and dissemination. Delivery is dependent on atmospheric and weather conditions, being such as microorganisms because climate. So that it can be affected by health and speed of authority response, blunt attack, smash and rashing, and to be affected. Biotech will be incremental and minor. LMB 16. Warning of emerging tech was a dystopia industry contributions focused on genetic tech contributions, control company predictable level 1. Emerging tech with unpredictable level 3 hypotheticals are treating them as valid. So increase comparing the two is misleading and is confusion. It's not whether dystopia are accurate but are not able to predict is non-existent, except that they cannot solve globally. They have not read evidence that the fund will be investing in global companies or that it would invest enough to change the behaviors in those countries. China will not allow investment. Bureau 22, China's emissions surge because of coal and third greenhouse gases. More than US, Europe, and Japan, Canada, and countries more crucial. When tensions, Chinese officials suspended dialogue on climate goals. Ukraine has not used efforts. Bureau 23, EU has been affected by Ukraine to reduce over-reliance on Russia, increase coal, record prices generating demand for speedy solutions. Indian emissions will only increase slowly, will never get on board. Bureau 23, India, like developed countries, has not. Now speaking emissions leaders should not be given poverty. India has not having on COVID, not be attending the summit. Projections show emissions surpassing the EU. Warming is not existential. The vast majority of indicators are trending better. The evidence assumes the worst case and exaggerates results for clicks. The stats hardly show any catastrophic, rather than existential threat that's bugged them. The India is incorrect because Buckingham said statistics. Those are verified by scientists, and they all agree that it's not existential. Adaptations guarantee long road 21 to construct the coming. There's assets you find a trend and projected are going everything to that coming change, but so is human response to single strikes limits. But the first bias is like tendency to ignore adaptation with actual racist. 1,300 times reality humans can negate all damage ignoring adaptation. Body risk folks. Advantage 2. Best studies indicate that economic downturns don't cause conflict. Bailouts have been done for decades, and all of recent past recessions disprove their theory. Every theory has been disproven by comprehensive studies. Stressors 16 analysts assert down to lead to conflict through diversion. Arms were big powers. The numbers a blip, military declines and crisis studies confirm the recession not triggered conflict patterns. Stability decline in lines has not been reversed. The crisis not generating nationalism. The economy is structurally sustainable. Capital economics study theory comprehensive analysis of how economies will perform in 2050. Global growth will bounce back. Monetary tightening should be sufficient to ensure inflation comes back to its target inflation. Rates are return to low levels of historic growth standards. Projections of 2.5% of the world economy. Prices big by 2050. India sends out for strong growth. We expect the US to retain the top spot as it drives the advances in the AI rebound investment. Bruce product that might not matter for the US demand and growth are high now. In March 121, the economy really good. Last quarter growth, 5% growth, all recovery numbers, some employees record low each month, adding hundreds of thousands of jobs, millions more jobs available compared with 2019 inflation down from 9 to 3 stock market. Ethereum has its household walls, the delinquency rates are lower than the past 2 years, and all those retail sales boom. Corporations have more cash than the pandemic, averaging 123 banks, retailers, restaurants, services, industries with consecutive month. It's not a snapshot, there's resiliency. Come post 1 to 3 consensus was recession, 2015 ChatGPT offered expectations for now forecasting recession. The economy will continue to demonstrate resilience.
Yeah, we'll take a second. 7:40. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Jobs counterplan. How does it solve global pollution?
How to solve global pollution?
Yeah.
The projects would could be global, and job guarantees are model.
Okay. Have you made either of those claims? Are either of those claims substantiated by any piece of evidence?
Well, the evidence in the one it sees suggests that a job guarantee can solve global
Okay.
pollution.
The jobs counterplan, perfectly both answers that it links to politics. How does it not solve the internal?
The one in evidence also says that basic income discourages work, and it discourages.
Why do the people getting the basic income not join the jobs guarantee for more money? Like,
Because they have sufficient money to live, and you drop that in the literacy.
so is that not a deficit to the counterplan as well? If they have sufficient money now, they won't join the jobs guarantee? Like, I don't
They
understand.
don't have sufficient now. It says that.
I don't understand how they're
basic
mutually exclusive.
It's not mutually exclusive, but it doesn't solve the internal effect. Like you can do both the basic income and the job guarantee. It just links to politics and wouldn't solve the nutrient pollution story.
Okay, the ground on T, is it just like you lose better links to econ dissets?
Well, it links to any dissat because the app will always say we start off with incrementalism, and it's impossible to.
What other dissets does that obviate?
What dissat?
Yeah.
Well, other dissats are doing econ.
Yeah.
Politics usually relies on large shifts from the status quo. Things like IRS trade-off, federalism, they all
Okay.
are premised off big
Sure,
changes.
yeah. Predictability, the first argument, the 1 and C evidence says it is generally consistent. The only real BI the world has seen is not consistent. How are you more predictable?
No, it says that the Alaska dividend is not basic income.
I understand it says that. It says like under their generally assumed definition of a basic income, but like how is that descriptive of like what all basic
So
incomes
what
are?
Tory card says is that it's usually not stated in the definitions but assumed. Like Tory's saying that
It's
consistent
usually-
is part of the definition. It's just not stated.
But it's not like an exclusive definition that says all basic incomes must be consistent. What piece of evidence have you read that says like
It does.
all-
It says that the Alaska dividend, which is similar to the plan, fluctuates based on the amount of returns. Is not.
Yeah, I
basic.
understand it says that based on like the assumption Tory is making in the article, but Tory's assumption is not descriptive of all basic incomes, correct?
No, Tory's seeking to define basic income for everyone, and you agree with us because you also got a Tory card. But I disagree with your reading. Of
Okay,
it.
NIT counterplan, the politics, all these cards are like a few Republicans liked it in the 80s, economists, Nobel Prize winners loved it. Why is it why does that apply to the current Congress when the House GOP would just resist anything?
No, it's not current parties.
Okay, what member of the GOP who's pressuring Johnson to like axe Ukraine aid would like a negative income tax?
Well, probably maybe all of them. I don't know. You haven't read evidence to the contrary.
Okay.
What is advantage 3? States Counterplan, the SWF Counterplan, UNESCO Counterplan, Econ, Immigration, Politics.
So, can you repeat that one?
Yeah. Advantage 3, states, SWF, UNESCR, Econ, Immigration, Ukraine. No automation crisis. 1. Correct for negativity bias. It's empirically disproven. Past predictions of job loss always turn out false. 2. Data. AI creates jobs. Countries with the highest rates of automation have the lowest unemployment. Worker satisfaction is rising. Unemployment is halving, and employment is at an all-time high. 3. Regulation solves. The government always intervenes, slowing automation, and unions pursue job security. That's economists. Job loss happens every day. Automation is not different. Carry 1. Automation happens all the time. We come from farmers who in fact work, so I call them employees. There's some structural shortage jobs. The inventions create markets. Automation is more likely to change jobs. Machines will perform more tasks when people will move to human work. 6% of jobs are eliminated every few months. Simple routine tasks are difficult to automate. Populism is not a threat. It's alarmism due to resilience, both institutional constraints and mass mobilization. I'm sure populists can't gain power, but even if they do, those factors constrain their success. Proved by how only 7 of 40 populist governments achieved some of their goals. That's Wayland, Thumpers, Jan 6 and 4 years of Trump proved no impact of populism. Resilience is especially true for the US. Wayland 24. Concerns about Fed have gone democracy in global north. Convinced enormous resilience America to fulfill no condition for populist destruction despite corrosion. Judiciary, federal systems, and institutions remain hard to change. Complex economies are likely to experience windfalls. America enjoys strong immunity. More dramatic for foreign war years of border breakdown despite unprecedented crisis. Democracy is far from defenseless. Liberal pluralism, no need for alarmism, is firmly entrenched in institutional insecure. The Counterplans group them, conceded terms, test competition. We're not going for it. All theories to reject argument, not to econ. They said concede no impact on all causes to development. Recession inevitable was answered on case. Immigration is that concede no link, and immigration is decreasing now, which takes out the food turn on Ukraine. Ukraine outweighs failure signals US for Ukraine's causing nuclear escalation with Russia, China, Turkey, and Iran as they seek to capitalize its levy. Only US for war costs 16 4 17 nuclear war. Instead of market and atmosphere across global cooling ozone, all sectors for nuclear war, drop temperature, safety, extinction is only possible between US and Russia. A small war is likely to extinction given it. Sense of extinction is greater than conflict between US and Russia, turns advantages and solvency, Ukraine escalation wrecks the economy, and increases poverty. Outcome 23. The economic impactors were varying world and impeding recovery to world like the industry preferences, exacerbated resources, because found in both developed and developing countries, conflict is main driver slowdown. They say they both the leaks in that benefit plans to expand PC and pisses off the Senate, which makes passage impossible. They say no passage. 1. Yes, passage now. Biden's PC works in the Senate. McConnell and other Republican leaders are coming on board. Schumer says there's a deal soon. That's the one in the evidence. 2. Lillis concedes that the Senate is inching towards agreement. We're yellow, even as the Senate inches closer to an agreement. 3 is that I'm not reading any new uniqueness cards because the evidence is only about the House, not the Senate, and they conceded that the Senate is on board now, which means that uniqueness is certain. They say the food turn 1 non-unique. Illegal immigration is low now. That was 3C1 on an immigration list which we've conceded. 2. League turn. The campaign feels the House passes Ukraine aid without concessions. It is not a concessions bill, but instead passes a complementary bill that is the Ukraine aid bill if the Senate does so as well. 3. Verification won't bar immigrants catches fewer than 1 in 6. Instant rehabilitating of Albine. They say no link, but their assertion was about the House, which is unresponsive. 1. Empirics. Obama couldn't pass climate legislation after pushing through the ACA. Bush couldn't reform Social Security after a series of small legislative victories. 2. Risk aversion. Every vote is a liability for legislators, especially with upcoming elections. Biden can convince opposing legislators for a limited number of bills. 3 is that they considered issue-specific evidence that says that in the context of Ukraine, Biden's PC is necessary to get Senate Republicans on board. 4. Biden's meeting signals progress. Share 160. Biden will press for Ukraine and in-person meeting for the White House will be first in months. 5. Everyone in the station focus. Kelly 116. Biden's top national security advisor predicted today for Ukraine repeat over within months later to least focus. After House turns out 20 got there, Biden's linked to 8 and other parties, the majority of Republicans that support digital assistance. 6. Political companies here. Survey 18. Resources. The lobby Congress on 500. And how White House products agenda select some issues over others. Besides, you can see how much BC you spend on the Democrats started clicking on assistance of White House and defined policies and got lost. 7 is that the link is massive. They conceded that basic income is super unpopular and would send all of Biden's PC, which means that there will be backlash. The Republicans and Democrats will hate the plan, which makes passage of Ukraine impossible, which overcomes their no-link argument. They say, I didn't answer Thumpers, but it's top of the docket. Rogers 118. Your House has showed from spending $1 free of lawmakers focused on Ukraine without connection to congressional leadership and negotiations can resume to craft a compromise on additional funding. They say no internal link is key. It gives Ukraine the tools to push against Russian mansions while saving the Western Union the outer states of levy. 8 rejects US power and lets Ukraine keep fighting with fraud with the Ukrainian government and other successfully reversing his waiting support without just Ukraine around in arms. Ammunition funds to fight away in US Ukraine sees more destroy democracy. The Ukrainian forces have been creating an army destroying infrastructure pushing Russia out of democracy with other regulars along US systems to help Ukraine raise military that defeat Russia will allow US to spend less and way less for Ukraine war attention to other problems Russia's happenings with useless only after defeat. After war, Ukraine will emerge a powerful ally. Mark Card. Ally. They say no impact. Ukraine war outweighs failure against US weakness causing nuclear escalation. And with multiple countries, it locks in more than 300 countries. America's blockade Ukraine. One Putin has Polish and political parties use honor to fight out to defeat the world. Have acted more than 3 other nations take advantage of China. Take Ukraine and Taiwan. We're going to take contested regions. War will go nuclear. We're going to increasing threat power. And also results in full-scale NATO. Russia war has had the extinction. Guaranteeing West 23. We want to NATO training stuff. from involvement. What we call it NATO restrain itself from involvement.
38. Sending it right. It's set. Order is the corporate governance advantage, financial resilience advantage, automation advantage, NIT counterplan, jobs counterplan, deficit spending counterplan, politics decision.
Is that one more time?
Corporate governance, financial resilience, automation, deficits, or NIT counterplan, jobs counterplan, deficit spending, politics, debt. Sorry, it's easy.
Said jobs, NIT.
NIT jobs.
Sorry, give me one more second. Okay.
Yeah, so the elevator's here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We solve climate change globally. Every 20 state car says where they're allowed to invest in companies around the globe. China's not allowed to block it if it's domestic investment. Ukraine hurting the EU is irrelevant. It's about domestic investment for companies. Same thing with Indian emissions. Scientists are not overhyped. They conceded the Buckingham cites a bunch of climate deniers who have no roots in science. They also conceded nonlinear tipping points, which happen faster than adaptation. It means that their only defense doesn't apply because heat waves outpace our ability to adapt to them. Concede by its defense not going for the impact. Financial resilience. Endemic recessions cause rally around the flag effects and escalation in nuclear war. That's proven by Russia's aggression in Ukraine and China's aggressing Taiwan. The Dresner evidence concludes that slow growth causes war. Russia and China have resistance borders and low growth. 3 years prioritize emissions over growth. If investment wanes, constraints on revisionist powers likelihood of great power lessen. They also concede the junk evidence, which does multi-level regression on a bunch of different studies and says that it all causes diversionary war. The structurally stable stuff is wrong. Capital economics, the capital economics part is wrong. The trend might be up, but recessions are endemic in the status quo, and they concede that they're getting worse, even if the overall trend of growth is up, the demand of growth or high is irrelevant. This is momentarily, and is driven by unsustainable and risky investments that drive things like bubbles that make recessions worse and more likely. The capitalist evidence is definitely a snapshot. It's only about this year. Automation advantage. Yes, populism impact. They conceded that they're less cooperative and more likely to go to war. They also distrust institutional science and they're more likely to lock in harmful practices and destroy good governance. They can come to power. None of their defense evidence assumes increasing joblessness due to artificial intelligence. Yes, joblessness happens in the status quo, but they conceded the redundancy of humans is getting higher and higher the more AI advances. AI does not create more jobs, even if that's descriptively true. The status quo, they conceded want to see evidence that says that AI will eventually advance to the point where it destroys more than it creates. Deficit counterplan. Or NIT counterplan. The counterplan definitely links to the Disad 1 PC. Any new bill Biden would have to push means he'd use his PC 2 controversy. The negative income tax is still a huge expansion of social spending. All the 2&C evidence is a few lawmakers support the NIT, not that they want the plan now, but the only thing anyone is talking about is border security in Ukraine. The plan proves perm to both. The counterplan is just as unpopular. Net benefits to the perm are the deficits. The counterplan can't solve any of the advantage. 320 expenses. The only way to combat inequality and rising politics is universal basic income, not giving different amounts to different people. That creates political fights over who deserves the money. The counterplan is ruined by poor barreling, poverty gap, and stigma. Passes 22 conditional benefits entails a series of political drawbacks. One major cost. The bureaucratic mess and poor barreling must be encountered to the poverty trap. 3 stigmatization. Uninterested money. People don't apply benefits because of labeling is essential to reduce conditionality. It fails. More expensive. It can't solve. Stands 23. NIT based on estimates of income vary by month. Required tracking database. Introduces errors handling with the IRS. Everyone. EOBI now reporting identical. EITC issues 1 of 5 miscalculations for NIT high error purely on hurdles. Like this word distinction more taxation at the bottom and middle. UBI more at the top also means it can't solve advantage too. Jobs counterplan. The perm solves does both the BI and JG, doesn't link to the politics more. The counterplan is just as toxic. It doesn't trade off with the internal. The plan's BI is phased in and the wages from the JG would be wanted, especially if people fear automation. The internal is fake. 1, international all causes pollution. No global ethos, no real answer in the 2 and C2. The F solves it. It promotes corporate responsibility. Deficit counterplan. New apps are good, they promote research and critical thinking, which are the only external benefits to debate. Also, they're fair. You get the block, which checks first and last speech and app choice, defaults reasonability on non-resolutional theory. Politics. No terms case, the only U.S. war is not the only thing that caused extinction conceded. Hardy arguments on climate and populism, and China has more nukes now, which takes out the Farquhar evidence, which only cites old studies on the amounts of nukes U.S. and Russia has. They also, populism turns war before deterrence works. Populists are more aggressive, conceded in the block. The war does not turn poverty first. It's a question of the magnitude of the link because this is about the impact rather than link turning the case. Aid also fails anyway. Biden's current strategy is unsustainable regardless of Congress and does nothing to stop the core of Putin's advances. Prefer military experts over political pundits. That's Sweet 1-3. All their evidence might say the United States is key to beating back Russia, but not that it's sufficient or that it would stop their aggression. No resolve impact. Other countries won't feel emboldened by any action regarding Ukraine. That's precious decision calculus proves. Wall 22. Lessons of war are clear cut. People judge different conclusions. War default bad luck this time is different. Knowledge check. Strategy of favorable circumstances. Never underestimate the least science into human space. More weight on their own experiences. Easy to dismiss other failure. Economic system not loom large in their calculations. Calculus is also divorced from PC. Their evidence says that Biden is doing stuff and that the Senate is also doing stuff, but nothing connects those two independently. Empirics about other presidents. Risk aversion goes our way because the plan is popular with the public. Biden meeting does not say that it's leading to progress, and laser focus is relevant because it doesn't say that that's leading to anything. The super evidence is about literal resources, not presidential PC. BIs do not have to be consistent, so we see Tory sets the globally recognized definitions of the most renowned BI agencies. BIs only have to meet 5 standards, none of which are consistency. Alaska's wealth is the only BI on earth is paid in cash by the government to nearly all individuals without means. Taxpayers for BI is paid by all members of individuals without means. Since the definition, income paid in cash regular basis rather than one-off paid by the government to be the only genuine instance. Alaska would be funded in a specific earmarked way. They paid on a monthly basis, paid at the same level. Predictability outweighs debatability. 80% of debate occurs through pre-round research, which is pre-configured by the basic terms of debatability. Any answer can be theoretically limiting, but if it's not predictable, no one will private community norms are possible to define based on people's subjective opinions, what they think is fair and best, only concretely formed by the end of the year. That's proven by how the community has been debating through like condo pigs and console templates for decades. No offense, doesn't add that many apps, only adds an app that pays BI inconsistently. And the two would argue to a case list. There are very few apps added. Ground is fake. Econ isn't your God-given right. Other bits like politics solve. Econ still gets links to phasing.
Yeah, that's right.
politics. Negative impacts. Jobs. That is advantage one. Alright, are we all good to go? A gap in Ukraine aid causes US-Russia war, which goes nuclear, that's Levy, it outweighs because it's the only impact that gets to extinction. That's fraud part. 1 hour is unresponsive, just as China has more nukes now, but fraud part says that Russia has way more, and that China is insufficient. Climate change and populism don't get to extinction, which will be on case, but fraud parts are some comparatives, that's only nuclear conflicts cause extinction. Populism cannot turn it because it's way too slow. It's about a decades-long trend of rising populism and automation down the road, which obviously means our disadvantage comes first. They say magnitude of the leak, but the leak is massive because they conceded that a basic income is unpopular, which will be below. Now, aid works, the framing issues, Ukraine does not have to win, they just need to not lose. That solves our impact scenario because it's about further Russian aggression if Ukraine loses. Levi says, quote, if defeated, Ukraine can avoid Russia to go after NATO and force a full-scale US intervention, which means that the burden is much lower for us to win this argument. Hartman says, quote, should Republicans block aid to Ukraine so it falls to Russia, then Putin has Polish robotic borders, US will honor Article 5 and enter the fray, which means that we do not have to win, that Ukraine actively wins the war, and it means that the one-year argument is entirely unresponsive. Tracy Sweet does not say that Ukraine will lose, she said they cannot win with more aid. However, evidence does substantiate that could cause them to substantially change the tide of the conflict because it's empirically proven, and especially now the evidence indicates that they can take back Crimea, which would be a large change in how the war is going on. Yes, impact first, the Russian win will encourage Putin to go further. If he wants to return Russia to its former glory Soviet days, he will have the resources and momentum to invade the Baltics and Poland, invasion of NATO allies, activates Article 5, and draws in the United States. That's Hartman and Levi. Second, impact defense is unresponsive to Russian aggression, which does not answer the invasion of NATO allies. That's Wesker. Their empirical argument is about the perception of other countries like China and India, China and Iran, not Russia, which means it's entirely unresponsive. Third, for our evidence, their defense is from 2022. Ours is from last month. It is proven by how Russia is continuing to agitate and to threaten NATO allies. Four, no nuclear analysis. The 1 year was the blip and spread through the blocks. Hold the line because I do not have a GNR. PC is real, first issue specific in the context of Ukraine. Biden's arm twisting and persuasion does matter. They've dropped the sheer as well as the Kelly evidence that says that Biden's laser focus on the bill is getting it passed now. The 1 year just asserted that's not key, but the evidence says that the meeting is working and it's necessary. Second, empirical. Obama and Bush failed to keep momentum going after legislative victories, which proves that PC depletes, and after wins it's harder to arm twist legislators. The answer to the empirical is unthrowable and obviously unresponsive because it proves that when Obama passed Obamacare, he was not able to pass a carbon dividend. Third, risk aversion. They conceded that especially with elections coming up, legislators do not want to be tied to as many bills, which means they're incentivized to vote on less. Regardless, we do not have to win any of this because they've dropped the bipartisanship and focus thing. The Kelly evidence indicates that there's focus in the Senate now, which is necessary to create the momentum for it to pass, but the basic income breaks down the kind of bipartisanship necessary, which means it's totally unreliant on Biden's political capital. NNT. Concede permits just to test out competition jobs. There was no deficit to Counterplan, which means that you are voting negative in this debate. They did not make one, and you cannot allow cross applications. The Counterplan is funded by a sovereign wealth tax, which means a sovereign wealth fund, which means it captures all of the reasons why it does not solve, and all of the deficits on the negative income tax Counterplan are reasons why conditionality is good, but a job guarantee is universal, provides a job for all. It definitively solves advantage 1 and 2 because it also implements sovereign wealth fund, and definitively solves the third advantage because it conceded provides a living wage and it guarantees everyone a job. So even if automation takes away jobs, they will always have a job guarantee to fall back on. No new to deficits, no cross applications, because I do not have a 3 and R. Now permanent growth does not solve and definitively leads to the net benefit because the link we read is about basic income. Permanent growth also does not no cross applications from the negative income tax content about links to net benefit. Our link is solely about basic income being unpopular, and that would also be new in the 3R. The app does not solve their internal, they drop their projects are key. The content also solves the reason why the app solves it because it also implements a sovereign wealth fund, which creates a corporate responsibility. So solves the internal net benefit better, is not offense for that. They dropped the two uniqueness counterplans from the 2 and C. These plans increase immigration, which solves food shortages, which go nuclear. That's Costello. Those conflicts drawn everyone crash, Russia and China. It's 100%. They did not make a permutation. They conceded that the counterplans solve it, and they conceded uniqueness. That immigration is low now, which means the app or the status quo cannot solve it, and only the two uniqueness counterplans can solve it, which means the combination of jobs and the uniqueness counterplans has a food net benefit, Ukraine net benefit, and there's no risk of a solvency deficit. Shall I also say this? They also dropped the House Companion Bill, which also generates uniqueness for the Ukraine disad, which they do not permute. Even if they win PC state, that overcomes it, and it's a uniqueness counterplan that is offense for us since they do not permute it.
Okay. 38. Okay. Okay, so every different order. Okay, it's the Vantage 3 populism, then the jobs counterplan, then all the other counterplans are like at the bottom of jobs. I don't know where you put them, but it's like increase immigration, uniqueness counterplan, the companion bill, and then politics. Okay. Is everyone good?
There are tons of moving parts to this debate, but the one thing you know is that the universal basic income is the only way to solve the third advantage. There's no defense to the short arm. Means there's 100% risk of populism causing globally a nuclear war. The one you see evidence, according to evidence, Smith evidence is the only way to combat rising fears of automation and popular sentiment is to provide a universal basic income financed by a sovereign wealth fund to provide the benefits to the workers. That's the only way to solve this advantage. Our evidence is very clear on the fact, and it is a deficit to the Counterplan. But populism will cause exchange. The Rubini evidence says populist leaders are more isolationist and they'll shut down all independence globally. That escalates trade wars with countries including Russia and China, which means we access the Ukraine war scenario because we still have a Russian war scenario. The 2 job. This is on a case in the 2 They also dropped the turn to the Ukraine disad because populist leaders are worse at deterrence, which means we cannot deter Russia from going further into NATO, which is a scenario the 2 goes for. It means we access their impact. We know there's 100% risk in this, and they cannot solve any of this offense, which means it outweighs the disad jobs. First option, the permanent both are the permanent both looks like a combination of doing the jobs and the basic income. The permutation is not links just as much to the disad as the plan does. But there's a few reasons that I'll crossify them and extend them from the other counterplan. The first is capital. Their thesis is just political capital, meaning passing any policy would require Biden to expend their precious political capital, which trades off. The second is focus. The 2 league explanation is just that Congress has to focus on Ukraine, and if they are focusing on the counterplan, then there's still links to that benefit. There's not a reason why the jobs guarantee is less controversial, links less to the counterplan, which means there's no benefit of the permutation. But they barely extended the internal about providing jobs to solve nutrient pollution. They drop it in international all costs, which take it out. There's no explanation for how the jobs would be provided globally to solve the global nutrient pollution. There's also not an explanation for why the basic income will prevent those people from joining the jobs. They dropped the basic income was phased in, so people would still want to get the jobs, so the wages. So it still solve nutrient pollution means the permanent both is a killer because there's a zero risk of the internal. There's not a reason why there's no real credible deficits to the counterplan, immigration counterplan. The rating in these counterplans are no-go. 1, debt benefits are not in the block. They read the counterplans and moved on. 2, it's an expert to establish competition in the apps burden. 2, disprove of the block made nothing in resulting in competition claims, so we don't have to answer them with perms because they're not even rise level of being full arguments, especially when they go for internal net benefits. They said something else was good with 0 linger competition arguments. I do not need to answer this total BS with a perm until they read 1 of 2. House Companion Bill is irrelevant. We'll go for other arguments on politics. I'm going for 3 arguments that are absolutely killer. The first is no internal. There's not a single piece of evidence saying it's right this meeting that is from an expert in military who says that internal will be that the aid provided by Biden will be sufficient to deter Russia. The 2 we see evidence is the sweet evidence is an expert, a military expert who knows what is happening in Ukraine. It says that Biden's current strategy is just about shooting down missiles, which is not what Ukraine needs. They need weapon systems and storage facilities to store all their weapons. That is the only way for them to sufficiently solve. It says his current aid is unsustainable. That there's no way it can deter Putin. This makes the entire dissent irrelevant because whatever aid Biden wants to pass and get through Congress will not matter for the sake of the Ukraine war, which means the impact is broadly inevitable. They have not made a claim about they don't made a claim that actually answers this argument. The only argument they made against it is just that they don't have to win the war. This is not what our evidence is saying. It is saying that any Biden push will not do anything to change the war because the strategy Biden is taking does not affect the way that Russia is invading Ukraine because they're using other tactics, and there's no way any of Biden's support can solve. Emboldenment is irrelevant because the status quo is emboldened. Biden's aid does nothing with it. Not about no tide changing. The evidence saying empirically does not explain anything about how that aid will actually solve. We're the only ones reading evidence from an expert, but there's also zero impact. The Peters evidence does talk about momentum for Putin, does talk about emboldenment. It says that Ukraine is much different from invading countries in NATO because of a few reasons. There's a lot of different scenarios at play and different considerations Putin has, which means if he wins in Ukraine, he's not just automatically going to go invade NATO states. Obviously, there's a huge nuclear deterrent because those NATO states are required under Article 5. The U.S. will be required under Article 5 to escalate, to go to war with Putin if he invades a NATO state. That this proves any aggression. The Peters evidence does answer it. The evidence might be about other countries, but the Peters evidence says that the credibility theory is false and that there's not a reason why deterring Putin in Ukraine will not deterring Putin in Ukraine will cause him to escalate into NATO. That takes out the entire dissent because the Chunar just said that our evidence is about globally and not actually answer the warrants. Now I'll go for the PC stuff. The Chunar thinks this is just a PC fake argument. It's not. It's that their evidence is horrible and does not say that Biden will resolve concerns of lawmakers. Their evidence just says Biden asked Congress to push to provide Ukraine. That does not mean he's actively lobbying for it. There's zero reason why the plan would take that political capital from Biden and cause him to permit lobbying for it. Their evidence, none of their evidence actually says Biden is going to lawmakers and asking them for favors and persuading them to pass the Ukraine aid, which means there's not a risk of the link, which takes out the dissent. Combination of those versus 100% risk of populism, kind of what that doesn't solve, means you would have.